All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the states in Nigeria. Yes, there are quite a number of things that happens behind cameras apart from the unrest that is going on in some country. But again, they say in times of unrest and agitation, it is understandable to feel anxious and frustrated. And of course, I think on this note, I think let me further say that it's important to also exercise patience and have faith in the government, especially when it comes to the government's effort to ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens is safe. And on this note, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, Kike Atanda-Owo, and I have Namlola in the building with the braided hair. I'm loving it. I love this traditional look.
I mean, we're going conventional now. So yeah. Enough of the, just once in a while, we tend to stem in low. Good afternoon from everywhere you're watching us. I hope it's a beautiful rainy day with us. I think here in Lagos it's been everywhere has been flooded on the mainland, coming to the island. Of course, we can't keep repeating this all over and all over again. But I know that if we dispose our refuse properly, we would have a cleaner and saner environment. Good afternoon again and welcome.
All right, let's not drown our viewers with our pleasantries and our words regarding rain. Let's just go straight to our this issue segment. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Former China President Hu Jintao said China wanted a strategic partnership with Africa, seeking to add a new political dimension to a blossoming economic romance. China agreed to commit $4 billion for infrastructure in exchange for 4 oil drilling licenses.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. Dami, what's your take on this day in history segment?
Well, I think that history reminds us about where we're coming from and where we are now. If we say China wanted a strategic partnership with Africa, and we can already see that they begin to foster the relationship and, of course, the romance, the economic romance. If we take Nigeria, for instance, at every point in time when Nigeria feels broke, I think it's always China to the rescue. And before you know it, it's one phone call away. We have loaned money, and that's, I think there'll be a lot of benefits for China having to have this economic romance with Africa, because a lot of the resources that are even transported worldwide, most of it come from Africa. So the only thing is for them to partner with us and for us to have a very beautiful bilateral relationship, at least to foster prosperity and economic growth.
All right, many thanks for your submission. For me, I just feel that, let me start by saying or quoting the statement by the former China of who is a president, who is Hu Jintao. Yeah, you know, his highlights. You know, he was talking about, you know, let's talk about the growing economic that ties between China and Africa, and of course the fact that the $4 billion, you know, infrastructure commitment shows that, you know, China's interest in investing in Africa is always about infrastructure, which has been a key bottleneck for our economic growth, if you ask me, especially in this region. So the exchange rate, if you ask me, or the exchange of infrastructure, so to speak, you know, in terms of funding of oil drifting licenses, and of course the highlights when it comes to the interdependence between China, needs to, if you ask me, maybe should I say, it needs to be about well, that's energy resources, you know, especially when it comes to the Africans' need for developmental funding on different perspectives when it comes to the borrowing that you mentioned. And for me, no other country has come to the help of Africa like, you know, China has done, you know, African countries, except other maybe competitive advantage with other countries that wants to actually exploit us, for lack of a better word now, you know, in terms of our wealth and our resources. That's the only time I think that such a thing occur. But overall, I think China thus far have been of added advantage to most African countries in terms of infrastructure, and that is where I think that our government, let me now tailor it down to our government tried to take advantage of it, to keep using that, you know, perspective to borrow, to get revenue from them, and they don't use it all the time to act judicious in quote in caveat, you know. But you know what, I think I like this on this history segment today, just like I love the one on Tuesday, which was about, you know, very interesting, away from our insurgents and the likes, terrorism and the likes and all of that. But guys, time for a quick message from our sponsor. Stay with us. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us on the live show today. You know, the crux of discussion, you know, will majorly focus on the concerns and safety and evacuation of Nigerian nationals in the war-prone country in Sudan. And of course, the Sudan leadership crisis, you know, degenerated on April 15, 2023, resulting into fatal gun battles between the Sudan Armed Forces and, of course, the paramilitary rapid support forces. And of course, this has led to the, you know, killings of over 400 persons, left over 350 wounded. And coming back to the internal affairs and plans, you know, the federal government has procured, according to them, 40 buses to the cost of 1.2 million to evacuate stranded Nigerians now trying to get out of war torn Sudan. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Godfrey Oyema, stated that at the end of the Federal Execution Council, which is the FEC, you know, meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, safety updates will be shared and the likes. And I spoke with the NIMA boss this morning. You know, he was supposed to grant us this interview today, and he assured that, you know, we can actually come back to him that tomorrow or next tomorrow, or tomorrow or next tomorrow, or probably next week. You know, by then we'll have more information regarding what is at hand, because as far as this is concerned, it's the same news that they've been putting out there. The news that we need right now is the fact that what's it called? Our nationals are on their way back to Nigeria, or they're already in Nigeria, so that they don't keep repeating themselves, which I really understand where it's coming from. So, and the question I'll be putting out there first today, in terms of us, you know, deliberating on the issue at hand regarding the nationals, our siblings, I like to call them, I like to refer to them as our siblings, is the fact that how does it sound to our ears, you know, even knowing that our blood, they are trying to evacuate them back to Nigeria. Let me come to you, because as far as I'm concerned, I just feel that what is the assurance that we will be able to get or lift over 5,500 Nigerians in 72 hours? Is the timing for me, and obviously it's over 72 hours now if you start counting from when this news broke and where we are today. So I want us to correct that impression of 5,500 also, because that is what I've been seeing on a lot of social platforms. Because when Mrs. Abike Dabiri came on my radio show yesterday, said there are over 1 million Nigerians in Sudan, that the 5,500 is just tailored to students. Even there are even more. That's so. There should be more. She must quickly correct, and I want to quickly correct that as well. So for me, I think our talking points now should be about the attempt on the ceasefire failure of the Organization of African Unity, and if you look at the United Nations as well. So 4 attempts, let me put it out there, 4 attempts at a ceasefire failed last week. However, the US was able to actually get their diplomats out, because while listening to her when she was giving me update on what is happening in Sudan, she was able to also update us on the fact that, you know, when we are talking about they are not working swiftly and all of that, listen, more countries, as you are thinking, that have evacuated people from Sudan, or Sudanese have tried to run for safety and the like that. There are no signs that there's any let's say warning parties, or how to negotiate with the UN in terms of what is happening at the moment. So what she's trying to say right now is that we should try to manage our expectations. That was some of the things that she said, that because the so-called US and UK that you think that they've evacuated their people, that no, it is actually their diplomats they took out first. That they took out first. So how will it sound to us if they are saying that they want to leave certain people? And let me come to you quickly before I talk about the second point.
I think that basically, if we look at the disagreement happening in Sudan at the moment, it's a power sharing disagreement. of course, between two forces. And like the way our Yoruba adage also says, that when two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that will suffer the lot. And this is the effect of that disagreement. If we look back at what happened between even Ukraine and Russia, and a lot of different parties who tried to meddle into the affair to create a ceasefire, and everything proved abortive, and that particular war has gone over a year, well over a year. As we are now, we are not even seeing the end in sight.
And there are no signs that these weary parties, they are ready to even seriously negotiate with us in terms of the fighting, because I know that the UN envoy, what's it called, the Sudan, told the UN Security Council meeting in New York on Tuesday that there's no negotiation at the moment. Everybody should try to look for how to uplift their people. You know,
sometimes it's like they don't, you know, like I said, when two elephants are fighting. And now, if you are saying you are giving us an ultimatum to move our people, now that ultimatum should be adhered to. At least you know that it's just like, God forbid, something happens in Lagos. You prepare that the fact that there are other nationals living in that state. There are other nationals living in your country. So if you people want to fight and you don't want people to meddle in the matter, you can fight with your own citizens. But the other people who have come there for means of livelihood, for education, for one thing or the other, let them move out peacefully. Maybe when your state or when your country is at peace at large, some of them can come back, and some of them might not have a reason to come back. If you keep disagreeing on power share, I think to a large extent, showing us Sudan's trouble in these few days also make us appreciate Nigeria. Because we need to really appreciate it. We've had different incidents that would have pushed us to a battle, that would have pushed us to war. But somehow we still negotiate. So if things are slow in this part of the world, it doesn't mean that other people who are also trying to do other things are not making amends, or they are not making efforts. So, but really, as Dr. Abike Dabiri, Chief Minister Dr. Abike Dabiri said, Nigerians also have to manage their expectations. We expect things to be done at a snap of a finger. And of course, there are processes. If Nigeria can say, oh, I want to go and take my person in Adamawa in 2-3 hours, it's another country way outside our own region. So at some point, you also have to follow their procedures. What if the few days back they shut all the airspaces?
But you know what? You know that mean, I think what I've actually noticed about us is the fact that we don't have that capacity when it comes to internal intervention in ceasefire and the like. I just want us to keep it really on this platform, because it's almost 2 weeks now. Yes. Why is it that African unity are failing Africa, so to speak, however you look at it in this regard? That's the reason why I'm saying that we don't have that capacity. And the fact that why should US, you know, intervene more, you know, in potent circumstances like this, however you look at it? Because the bilateral relationship that you expect that should come in between US and Sudan is not coming to play. So isn't it time, the question I'm asking, isn't it time for African nations to actually get more strong in addressing, you know, the internal issues that we have, especially when you also look at, you know, the bilateral relationship and the ease of doing business in this country? What's your take on this?
Using the same Ukraine and Russia, we saw what happened to our flour business, knowing that the larger importation of flour was coming from Ukraine. You understand? And that's where you're talking about business. A lot of people, sometimes when things happen, it's like you don't consider other people. And this is one of such situations, because if there were considerations that, okay, Africa for Africans. Now, I was reading an article yesterday that was actually pointing an accusing finger at even the US government themselves, that what is their stake in all of this country? What are you doing? You claim that, oh, you are the Almighty, but as the Almighty, when things are beginning to happen under your nose, there's little or nothing you can do, because you are actually fighting for your own interest. And like we know, even politics is a game of interest. It's friends today, enemies tomorrow. It's no permanent friend or no permanent enemy. But we should be asking the United States that what is their interest on this matter.
Okay, so what is their interest on this matter is the fact that, first off, I want to start by saying that, you know, before talking about the interests of
the
United States, because there are certain contracts, for lack of a better word, that goes between each countries and countries, even in terms of ease of doing business, in terms of, you know, what's it called, security and the likes and all of that. You know, I don't have enough information to be able to back my conversation, but that's what I'm trying to put out there. But let's talk about coming back to Nigeria. because our federal government is putting it out there saying that they are procuring or they've procured 40 buses at the cost of $1.2 million to evacuate, stranded Nigerians. The question is, the priority is given to women, children, and of course I think diplomats as well during these 72 windows provided by the ceasefire entered into by the warnings of weary parties. So I'm just trying to ask right now that with all that is happening right, I understand that we are putting women and children and diplomats in priority, but according to Tribune is saying something else in the sense that they are saying that Sudan evacuation, the federal government hires 40 buses at 1.2 million, like I said earlier, while other reports is saying that Nigerian purchased the bus. So it's a conflicting information that is being put out there, which is one of the things that you and I are also struggling with before coming on air. So the question is, it's a worse situation. I feel that aside Nigerians debating that on social, I think what we should be debating or talking about is the safety of lives, because it's more paramount than the cost of what they are trying to talk about. They are saying, so where did they get that money from? Sometimes I feel that we lose our senses sometimes, because there are a lot of things that I even like to touch about when it comes to our trending. Don't let me jump before the gun, because I just feel that why are you talking about the cost of the purchase, or instead of you to be talking about the procurement or how they borrowed the money or where the money came from? You don't even want to know where the money came from. Do you understand? $1.2 million is more money to these people. But to all that are reading the thing, you think it's money. So I just feel that the minister that said that that they should talk about the conclusive part of it with the Sudanese government. Do you understand? To enable them to evacuate, and move the people to Cairo or to Egypt or whatever, according to him. So he's talking about the cost. For me, was, as far as I'm concerned, was not even necessary. I feel that that's where, yes, if you ask me, there's some information that you don't put out there, because you know how Nigerians are. Citizens will come and start debating, and they will deviate from the main issue at hand. So the question is, the evacuation was to provide security cover, as far as I understand it, for the 8-hour journey from I think Luxor to Cairo or something, and of course the 11-hour trip from Aswan or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to, all these countries, when they come up, you start learning how to pronounce their country, in Cairo and Egypt. So that means, with all that I've shared thus far, I don't want us to pay attention to the cost. I know that you want to channel energy into the cost as well. But let's talk about the other perspective that I put to the table.
If we're also talking about other perspective, this is one of the perspectives. Sometimes we cannot all sleep and face one direction. Sometimes somebody has to think out of the box. Because if we're talking about infrastructural development, let's come back to Nigeria. If all of these monies have been available somewhere, there should have been infrastructural development in the country that could have deterred these people to go to Sudan for study or for education or for even means of livelihood. Let's agree that it's not only students that are in Sudan. If our country was beneficial enough and we had tailored, or we had put in all these monies here and there, so sometimes you beg to ask that, but Nigeria will say we are broke. But where is this money coming from? So it's a part of it. As much as we are praying for the safety, and like the NIDCOM boss said, Chief Dr. Abike Dabiri also said that we should rather channel our energy to pray.
You see, when you talk like that, it makes me feel like that means they are backing what Garba Shehu said about certain person. Because as far as I'm concerned, tomorrow now, reason why some people don't come out to help certain people is the fact that they'll say, so he has that kind of money before you cannot repair the road that leads to your house. Meanwhile, it's federal government that's supposed to do the infrastructure facility that is expected of them in terms of giving us.
Somebody will know somebody that knows somebody.
You know what? Let's go on a quick break. When we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, glad today you're still with us. There are quite a number of things that is happening behind cameras when we go on break, because this topic at hand is something that actually bothers you and I. So in cases like this, or in a case that maybe you are just joining the show, let me quickly keep you updated that the conversation today is about what is trending on our socials, about the recent news in our country or our families who are in Sudan. So we have been discussing about the Nigerians in Sudan, the evacuation, the updates on revenue, on how the process, the administrative work is being done, and of course many more that has been touched on. So welcome to Real Talk with Kike again. And don't forget that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio numbers 08098877400, showing on your screen right now, and we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, both on Real Talk with Kike and of course on Silverburn platform. And I must say many thanks for always tuning in, because quite a number of people have been giving me feedback. Oh, we saw about 30 something, you know, it's increasing day in, day out. So we do not take that for granted. Many thanks. So Dami, let's just go back to your conversation at hand. And I think that another talking point that I really want to touch on is the fact that I feel that they say we have over 3,000 students stranded in Sudan. And the question is that I'm asking is the fact that why on earth are Nigerians studying in Sudan in the first place? What makes their education suddenly better than ours? You know, when you were talking earlier, you were talking about the fact that, you know, if infrastructure was good, if the economic crisis was better, I mean, economic factor was actually better, most people will not want to japa. There will not be japa syndrome. There will not even be any question of you saying that you want to go to another country to go and say you want to further your education. So let's talk about that, because now let's look at the economic reasons now, because since I touched on it, because as far as I'm concerned, I just feel that the Sudanese, when you compare the pounds equals to their own money, I think it's about 0.77 in terms of the Nigerian naira rate. I don't know if you can also quickly do that. It means that as in we are better off than their own currency in terms of competitive, what's it called now? Borrow me the word. You know, the market competition. You know, so it's not quite clear why we will even decide to want to say that we want to go out there. But I understand that last year the educational home frontier was shut down for almost a year, for 8 months plus or so. So I can understand where people will even say that they want to go to Ghana to go and even study or to further their education. So what's your take thus far with the economic crisis? I'm comparing it to pounds to naira, on the fact that we are doing better than them if you compete or compare them together. What's your take on this?
If we look at it in both ways, Nigeria and Sudan, yes, there might be reasons for people to go to Sudan to go and study, because taking example of our incessant strikes, how many parents can afford to keep their children home? And with the adage that says the idle man is the devil's workshop, we know how many things we are battling with idleness as regards our youth. That's where we have a lot of drug abuse. That's where we have a lot of vices, pickpocketing, robbery, and all of that. You will find out that day in, day out, when the police bring out criminals, they are in the age bracket of the youth. You understand? So it shows us that if you don't harness these potentials, they will keep increasing crime rates in the society. And let's look at, okay, how many of them would you say they are graduates? How many of them have gone to school? What is the statistics of people who commit crime that are actually students or have gone to school? Look at even our boys that are being sent to universities. They go to universities. I was saying last week, Lautech had just banned students from bringing cars to the campus. We know, I have friends who went to Lautech. So let's look at that, for example. They do not even go to school to face that study, because they have other vices and, oh, after school, what is it for me? So they begin to plan within the educational system on how to navigate. And that's it. Now, if Nigerians have kept these 3,000 students within our shores, it would have boosted our economy, because they'll be paying school fees here. And that's one of the things that we are talking about. And that's why we will keep hammering on the government to do what is supposed to be done, to keep people here. Because sometimes it's not as if it's very rosy out there. If you speak to some of our siblings, like you say, if you speak to them who live outside Nigeria, you'll find it that it's not as if they are living large or they are living like kings. They just also have to manage and wangle their way around, just to make sure that, oh, even if I'm coming back to Nigeria, I'm coming back to something better. So if we look at this, our educational system, for instance, okay, let's quickly go into our medicals. I think during coronavirus, there was a hospital in Port Harcourt that they said snakes chased them out of the hospital. Infrastructural deficit. As at few days ago when they wrote JAMB, I think about 1.2 million students took JAMB. This 1.2 million students will not be admitted. It's not cost, because there is a streamlined avenue or a streamlined number of people that even the university can accommodate. So majority of them who did JAMB and did not get admission, their parents will also be thinking of alternatives. So these alternatives now border on where are you going to. Sudan wasn't like this like 2 months back. Do you understand? So sometimes we have to still intertwine in that, okay, why are people leaving? What are we doing wrongly that we should correct? Now, if everything is good here, you and I that stay here, as at this morning when we woke up, we'll still ask ourselves that, do I really want to continue? So we have these questions over and over and over again. But when are we going to get the right answers and the right solutions to numerous questions that we have been asking that are still hanging?
All right, so you know, we keep it real on this platform. No matter how much you want to point fingers at certain people and the likes and all of that, my own child is school abroad. Regardless, no, it's the truth.
Okay.
So forget the fact that, you know, and today, if you look at it from another angle, forget the fact that because we are privileged or the like, some people don't even have the money, but they look for the money to say they want to send their children abroad for certain reasons known to them. Apart from the fact that strikes eat us, apart from the fact that the infrastructure facility in the environment of the school is not okay enough, as apart from the fact that certain things is not being taught when it comes to history or culture. You are wondering why is it that we are sending our children abroad to go and be learning other people's culture? Because sending your children abroad to go and learn is as good as embracing their culture one way or the other. They will never say they want to start teaching them Yoruba or Igbo or whatever or start teaching them when Awolowo, you know, those are certain things that. So for me, I just want to keep it real. Do you understand? So no matter how much you want to point fingers at people going abroad to look for greener pasture or whatever and the likes and all of that, it is because certain things is not convenient, which is the basic amenities that we expect from our government that is not put on the table. But now, let's not tailor that, because I know that we are running out of that. I want to tailor our conversation, or let's round up this segment on the fact that I feel that, you know, when it comes to socials have its advantage and disadvantage. I'm of the opinion that, you know, there must be some bills that must be passed when it comes to socials. I stand strongly on it. And the fact that I just feel that there's a lot of things that is being peddled in social media when it comes to criticism and trying to point fingers at federal government. As far as I'm concerned, I just feel that, you know, I stumbled on some messages while I was doing research, you know, knowing that our guests will not be coming to the studio anymore. Let me just quickly, you know, some of the comments that I see on socials, my dear Damilola, sometimes if you decide to say you want to go on the page or look for who the person, you realize that when the person sees you physically, the person cannot say half of the things that they are saying. So hence the reason why I feel that let's wrap up this show by trying to, what's your take in terms of, you know, the social media nonsense, for lack of a better word, guys, the social media nonsense that is in our system that is causing a lot of setback. And I feel that in a sensitive time like this, I feel that we should gather our axes together in looking for how to provide solution even to the government, because however you look at it, they are watching, they are listening, they are reading. Do you understand? Let's use this medium to educate people who are listening to us right now in terms of what they should be putting on social media, in terms of positivity, in terms of how they can even offer solution to the issues at hand, especially with these youths that they cannot comport themselves properly when it comes to the public space. What's your take? Enlighten those who are listening to us.
Okay. I think that we will not actually want to look for solution without highlighting the problem. Yes, I also agree, the root cause. I also agree that social media should be regulated to a great extent. Let us know the people who are feeding us with news. Let us know how credible and how authentic their news is.
So many.
However, there are also ministry parastatals. I think that, of course, a lot of ministries now, they are on socials, either Twitter or Instagram. Now, they should not wait too long before they quell a false narrative. Because there are times that, like this conflicting headline of purchase and hire, the ministry involved should have put out on their own socials where people can get authentic news. But now, the back end to that is also that somebody can hack that account. And you hear that, oh, it's not us that said it, oh, they hack our account. So how well do we entrust even those that are around us with information? Now, if we're talking about looking for solution is not far-fetched. I believe that a lot of politicians or a lot of our government officials have gotten more solution than some problems. But will they adhere? Because it's another thing for you to give somebody a solution. It's another thing for it to be implemented. At the crossroad where Nigeria is, a lot of solutions are not being implemented. Because when I came in, we were talking about rain and all of that. All through last year, we were talking about rain crisis, flooding, and all of that. All of the solutions that were given to these people, drainage. were they implemented? Oh, let's evacuate the drainage, let's do that, let's do that. And sometimes I think, sometimes last week somebody was showing a heap of refuse just on Body Lawn Road, that okay, yes, evacuation is taking place, but how rapid? So sometimes we give solution. If you check those comment sections, you will see solutions. Some people are very intelligent and they don't even have the time for all of these back talks or whatever, but they will give you solution. But how well are we prepared to follow the process of solution, to have a lasting solution to issues? Because next year it will rain. We don't know the country that will have crisis next year that they need to evacuate Nigerians. Some years back it was xenophobia in South Africa, and we know what happened and how they evacuated some Nigerians. So if we don't begin to plan for some things, or the solution we have gotten so far, if we don't begin to harness and make them into, so those people that have given you solutions some years back and you didn't adhere to, they'll be the ones to come and insult you because the proper solution, you didn't take it. Even we have Nigeria, if we begin to count how many professors Nigeria have, professors of different fields, so we cannot put everybody together to say let's try. So there are solutions at the fingertips, but do we want to follow solution way?
All right, I think on this note, it's important for me to end this segment with the word of hope and mindset, because remember that in times of war, it is for us to strengthen our character to come out of this or whatever thing we are going through, that will keep our heads together. So on this note, I think that I just want to use this opportunity to say that, you know, if we have loved ones out there, you know, keep the hope alive, you know that they will come back to Nigeria in safe mindsets, you know, and at the end of the day, this too will pass, like the word that we use in Nigeria. So before we round up the show, I think we should quickly touch on the last segment of the show, which is the trending stories. And the first trending story that actually caught my attention is that of the socialites, you know, that dies while trafficking drug, you know, and this trafficking drug just went straight to you, because I know that there are two topics that is very dear to you when it comes to the population of Nigeria, and of course when it comes to drug trafficking, you know, and I felt that, you know, this is very interesting for us actually to bring to fall. And I think before I come to you, let me quickly give my submission on this, because I just feel that, you know, I need to use this medium to actually remind our youth that not all that glitters is gold. You know, some people don't even have any life outside social media. Majority of the youth today don't have a life pattern or a sense of their own other than what influences them on socials. So it is absolutely dangerous when you live such a life. I've been saying it over and over again, and I keep saying it, that there is a process to life. You know, there's an investment to make towards success. We need to actually face their reality, or face the reality. Everybody wants to be like some Instagram goddess or some Twitter influencer or some TikTok influencer. I know many a time when I post pictures on socials, my girlfriend, I don't want to mention her name, she will say, Elvie will say, Kike, you should have edited it.
And you didn't mention name. You just said Elvie.
She said, Kike, you should have edited it. Kike, you should have, you know, you should have added some glitters. Kike, I'm like, but I must want how I look, you know, so that somebody else will not see me on the street and say, it's different from what I see on
some people won't even recognize you.
And that is where the lie comes in. When I understand that there are many tools on social that can enhance so many things, we must remember that we must live a life of truth. You don't know what they are doing behind closed doors. Those people you are admiring, you know, because when I actually saw this, you don't know even the kind of real lives that they live. I keep telling my children, I'm your first role model. It is wrong for you to go and pick a Wole Soyinka as the first role model. Well, when you pick me, your mother, you can pick Wole Soyinka. And I'm not saying Wole Soyinka cannot be their first role model, but the question is,
charity begins from home.
Persona that is being shown outside regarding Wole Soyinka. This is me keeping it real. I admire Wole Soyinka. Do you understand? When it comes to I read his books and all that. You must have seen one or two of his books with me. But the question is, when it comes to power of character that I have been taught by late Dr. Miles Moore, that I understand very well, that I teach people in the four corners of rooms, people who are older than my father. I came to a conclusion to say that I must be my children's first Buddha, because they know the lapses of their mother, they know our strengths, they know our wins, they know every other thing. And more importantly for me is the fact that I feel that, you know, many a time, or how many a time have we seen Nigerians, or the Nigerians, so to speak, that a person who is lavishing money on social is also a kidnapper. A person who is lavishing money on social is a ritualist. Yes. A person that you are seeing lavishing money is a fraudster. You know, when I see all of this, our youth need to appreciate hard work. I'm telling you that you must understand that there is a process, and consistency is key. We need to imbibe the culture of learning, of training, of developing ourselves for the future. Because I think that is exactly what we are losing today. Yeah. There's so much urge with our youth today when it comes to social validation. Nobody is actually ready to put in the work. So when I see news like this, I'm actually in pain, and I'm asking myself, I must pay attention to my children. People also pay attention to the girl child, forgetting that that girl child that you are raising properly will go back to go and marry the
guy that was probably
not well raised.
True.
So
absolutely
the question is,
valid.
What are we actually doing to make, or for us to even understand that there's contentment in wherever you are? Because there's a season for everyone. The season you are now, everybody is aspiring to be bigger than where they are, to be this, to be that, and all of that. Danny, I can keep going on.
I'm telling you, I like the fact that you have elaborated on even the corners that I would like to touch on. Because yes, the first thing you said, all that glitters is not gold. People fail to understand that if you sit back and look at your journey, you've invested about 20 years in media. If you do 20 years in some other business, you could have been bigger than this. Or you might have not even gotten to where you are. So it's
my reversion to media, I've done great things in other sectors, in the banking industry. So many telecommunication and all. So it's about.
I think that it still boils down to the home. A lot of parents, I was speaking to a couple of people, I think a few days back, and I said, a lot of parents don't even look at their children and admire them. Oh, that you look beautiful, you are handsome. Let's start from there.
Speak to their lives.
Speak to their lives. Speak to encourage them.
Speak to their environment.
Self-esteem. That, oh, my son came home one day and said, oh, my mom's, my classmate said my haircut was not fine. I said, oh, go and look at the mirror. This haircut is the best. You know you look very handsome. You're cute. Exactly. So when he goes back to school, he got back to school the next day and came back and said, oh, I told my classmate that I looked in the mirror and the mirror said I was handsome. So if we want to talk about being role models to our children, a lot of parents, their children know that they engage in different vices. And if you want to now point at such a parent, at the end of the day, our people say, oh, so an apple will not fall far from its tree, and that's it. So we need to, even the government.
I don't know if I agree with that adage. And the reason why I do not agree with that proverb is the fact that there are some children that are properly well raised.
Absolutely.
But even from the foundation, exactly. Yes, even but they go out there, they let peer pressure.
That's another part.
But you know, at the end of the day, they point fingers at the parents, at the foundation where I'm coming from. That's the reason why I tell my children, I must be your first role model. Yeah, see me. I'm extremely transparent. All right, then, before they start running the comments, all right, we need to quickly run into our second trending story before we run out of time. The second trending story that caught our attention again is that of, you know, CEO Airpeace that gets abused over patriotic gesture. Damilola, you know, in my head, when you are giving your submission earlier and you were saying certain things, I was saying that, you know, no one will believe that this is an individual. And please, it's not because I have any work relationship or personal relationship with the CEO of Airpeace, but as an individual who throws his business and his person in the line of selfish, you know, in the line of selflessness, in times like this, could get abused or slandered for his gesture. So I have read the comment of Senator Adamu Garuba, and it's nothing but tantamount to, you know, I want to hold the words that is coming to my mouth. I try to measure my thoughts because I know that I will be bringing him on this platform and certain questions will be asked. I really don't understand how people think in such ridiculous way. It will cost us nothing to give honor to whom honor is due. So how many local airlines have been throwing their businesses without expecting a dime from the federal government for patriotic patriotic exercise like this is the question I'm asking in pain. And who did Nigerians see during xenophobia is also the question I'm asking in pain. And also who came to the rescue in the crisis of Nigerians in Libya is also the question I'm asking in pain. So during COVID-19, which was also when all the airline was, you know, doing the transnational continental trip, because I remember then, you know, businesses were not favorable for them. So those kind of defaming words, trying to downplay his gigantic gesture. I just feel that some of these people, some of these people, they have private jets. How many have actually volunteered to have their private jets to Nigerians in crisis like this? So these same airlines or these same airliners are in an industry where there is no ease of doing business in this country. I'm an entrepreneur and I know how much is being put out there when it comes to tax and the lights and FRS and all of that. So last year they shut down operation down twice, I must emphasize, because they were going bankrupt and the likes and all of that. Should it be now that there should be some instigation of abuse from people that we put in the corridor of power that are supposed to be shaking each other's handshake and be calling each other, you know, tribal sentiment, because I saw one of his interview when he was talking in one of the media stations and he was talking about the tribal sentiment, and that hits me quickly, because when you go on socials, those are the things they are saying, the tribal, the ethnic divide. You know, I just feel that ingratitude and all sorts is something that we must say no to in a country like this, especially to certain people who are actually exhibiting, you know, patriotic behavior. The so-called man that I feel that by now, since 5-6 years ago, should have been given honor, you know, national honor. You know, there are reasons why I just feel that some people get frustrated. They take their businesses out of the country. One of the richest man in the UK is Adebayo, I think Ogulesi. He is currently served as chairman and managing partner in I think managing partner in UK. And in 2006, his company bought London City Airport in 2009. Again, GIP acquired the majority in London Gatwick Airport in dealing with about worth of, you know, 1.455 millions of pounds, you know, or billions of pounds rather. So why haven't these people come back to this country to say they want to establish and grow our aviation sector is also what I'm putting out there. So I want to use this opportunity to say that, can our leaders, the people that we put in corridor of power, can they please exhibit good etiquette in the public space because of people who are looking up to them? Enough of these shenanigans that they are putting out there. Dami, let me come to you, because I can keep going on and especially with a company that has impacted me, not just only me, but the country at large.
Nigerians. Because if we look at it, sometimes the truth is very bitter, but we have to keep it real. Sometimes Nigeria deserves the kind of leaders that we get. That's just the honest, blunt truth. Because it's just a simple gesture. During the xenophobic attack, like Kike mentioned, he was the one we saw. Others went back into their shell. Because it's not even his business. He's also risking. He's risking the life of his business to say, okay, you know what, we want to travel all the way to Sudan. God forbid, things happen and they say, oh, there was a misfired missile. It could be anybody. But even that cheering him up to have at least thought about that gesture would have been nice enough and would have kept him going, would have been a wings. An air beneath his wings.
Everybody wants to be acknowledged.
Nigerians are appreciative. I know Nigerians to be highly cultural people. We appreciate, but in the face of politics, where we think we want to hide behind a finger and perpetrate things, I mean, it's not too nice. Especially, like Kike mentioned, for people who look up to us as adults. We should lay a good example. Let them not be that in the next 20 years, we'll be saying there was a country. Right. It starts from now, whatever we do. Posterity will ask and judge us.
What is the legacy you are leaving behind? And before I end the show, I must say that you look really young and beautiful. Oh my God. I think you should keep up to this hairdo, this hairstyle. Oh. All right, guys, on this note, this is where we draw the curtains of the show. Till we come your way next week, remember to be kind to someone. Let's pray for Sudan. Let's pray for everybody, not just Nigerians. You know, it's important for us to also keep our hope alive, despite the fact that we are going through a lot right now. There's a lot of transitioning that is going on when it comes to the government.
We're expecting
that we're expecting in the president-elect. So on this note, I want to say many thanks to my co-host for bringing it real on the platform today. So till we come your way next week, I'm Tuesday. Happy. Next week, Tuesday. Please remain kind to one another. My name remains Kike Atanda-Owo.
And I'm Bye for now.